Alright, so how did you get on? Now, if you got stuck or you want to see maybe how I did it, then continue watching and I'll go through the solution with you. So first things first, head over to the link and fork your own copy. Once you've done that, we're going to tackle the to-dos one by one in order. The first one asks us to randomly choose a word from the word lists and assign it to a variable called chosen word. So in order to randomly get an item out of the list, we're going to need to import the random module. And once we've got hold of that, then we can say random.choice, and if we put inside the parentheses the list that we want to randomly choose from, then we should be able to get hold of a single item from this list randomly. And then finally, we're going to assign it to a variable called chosen word. So let's call that chosen word and then set it to equal this result. So that's to do one completed. The next to do, we have to ask the user to guess a letter and assign their answer to a variable called guess. And finally, make that guess lowercase. In order to ask the user for anything, we're going to have to create an input. And let's say guess a letter. And then we can assign their answer, which will replace this line of code with a variable called guess. So we'll just set that equal to guess. And finally, we're going to make this guess lowercase, and we do that by writing .lower. Now, step 3 asks us to check if the letter the user guessed, which is this guess variable, is one of the letters in the chosen word. So this randomly chosen word could be any one of these, aardvark, baboon, or camel, and we have to somehow check if this letter, which is stored inside this variable guess, matches any of the letters inside this list of words. So as I mentioned, as a hint, you can have a look at this document from Google for Education, which talks about various things in Python. And the part I wanted to draw your attention to is the for loop, which we covered previously. So we know that we can use the for loop like this to loop through a particular list and get hold of each of the items in the list like this. So in our case, all we have to do is say for letter in chosen word. So this is going to go through this chosen word letter by letter, and each time the loop runs, we'll get hold of one of the letters inside the word. So the first time that letter variable will be equal to A, the next time it'll be equal to R, and so on and so forth. So now inside our for loop, we can check to see if the letter that we're currently looking at is double equals to the letter that the user guessed. And in this case, well, then that means it's a match, right? So we're going to print either match, or in my case, I'm just going to write right, and else, namely if it doesn't match, then we're going to print wrong. That's it. That's all we had to do to complete all 3 to-dos. And now if I run this code, you can see it's going to ask me to guess a letter. So let's put A, and then it goes through this loop line by line to check against this letter that I've guessed. So I'm guessing in this case the chosen word is aardvark. So when the loop is running through the first letter, A and A match, so it says right. Then the next time it's looking at the letter R, A and R does not match, so we get wrong, and it continues until it finds all the matches and all the ones that don't match. Now, if you want to check your code against mine, simply head over to the URL that's listed in the course resources under App Brewery Day 7 Hangman 1 End. And here you'll be able to see all the code that I went through with you just now. Now, if you had any issues understanding how the code worked or how to get to the final solution, and if you're at all confused, I recommend putting the code through Thonny and just clicking on the debug to go through each of the steps one by one. So in this line, we're going to use the random module, and get hold of a random item from this list. So in this case, it's picked camel. And now that camel is going to be equal to the variable chosen word. So on the next step, we ask the user to guess a letter. And once we step into that, it's going to print that out into the debug console. And if I put A and hit enter, then guess is now equal to A. And there's our second variable, guess, which is equal to A. Now we fall into our for loop, and if we step into the loop, then you can see that the chosen word is going to be replaced with camel, and letter is going to be replaced with each of the letters in the chosen word one by one. So the first time the loop runs, it's going to be C, and then it checks to see, well, if C is equal to guess, which is A, does that match? No, it doesn't. So it jumps to the else part and it prints out wrong. And then the loop is going to restart from the top, and we're going to go to the next letter in the chosen word, which is A. Now in this case, the letter is A and the guess is A, and so that should match, and so it should print right. And then it basically steps through all of these again and again until we get to the end of the word and we get this printed out. So have a play around with that and the debug console to wrap your head around it, and once you're confident that you know what's going on, then head over to the next lesson and let's complete step 2.